Anthony, we are live at the Langham in New York City. How do you feel about that, brother?
We are?
I'm Anthony. Welcome to No Vacancy Live. That's my friend Glenn.
You're watching the #1 show in hospitality.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to No Vacancy Live. We are at the Langham Hotel, New York City. I love being here. Luxury coming back in New York. How you feel about that, Anthony?
That's great. You know what's great?
Yeah.
Is that watching you we're on location at the Langham in New York, one of the most beautiful hotels in the country.
Yeah.
And seeing you stress out and look completely like you're going to literally faint from panic.
Well,
And then let me finish.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And then all of a sudden you're on the show and you're like, hey, everybody. I wish you would have seen Glenn 3 seconds ago.
Yeah, well, I'm very good at putting things in little separate boxes and locking them away when I need to. Man, were we having some problems over here? I should say I was having a lot of problems.
I was drinking water.
All right, everybody. I'm excited to be here coming from you at the Langham in New York City with, of course, Anthony Melchiori over here. Anthony, this is exciting because we're going to talk a little bit about restaurants and hotels getting along, right?
Well, you know what I love about at this level? When you're at the Langham and you're incorporating high-end restaurants, it's a tightrope for many reasons.
Yep.
It's a complicated guest. It's a complicated city to work in sometimes. It's an expensive city to work in sometimes. But when you do it at the highest level and it's done right, it's just paradise. There's nothing better.
Well, I'm feeling like we just got to paradise because we have with us Mr. Busierre, Managing Director at the Langham. He's the guy on one of the sides with the goatee, and Ahmass Fakahany, CEO and owner of Altamarea Group. Gentlemen, so great to see you here today. Don't worry about looking at me. Just look right at the camera, and it'll be great.
We're all actually sitting 5 feet away from each other because we're all vaccinated. So it's weird to be looking at the camera, but we're kind of used to it. So why don't you tell us a little bit, and either one of you can start, kind of about the restaurant and the hotel and your background, and then we're going to talk about how the restaurant and the hotel has melded together for how many years now? 10 years?
10 years. Yeah, at least 10 years.
The restaurant actually outdates this being a Langham, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So, Ahmass, what is your background and how did you come to the restaurant business?
Yeah, well, look, great to be here. Great to be with you. I started my career in Wall Street, and I was actually president and COO of Merrill Lynch. I wanted to do something else about 15 years ago, and I chose something harder than finance, and that's food and beverage. And I got into it. And
he's not kidding.
It's both are hard. Both are crazy businesses. This one is a lot more creative. And I founded and built this group called Altamarea Group, which is a hospitality organization really focused on restaurants. And we started on the high end of the food and beverage paradigm, and then start building brands as well in the more quality casual space, and then the even more casual space. But iFiori is one of the key restaurants in our high-end offering, and we also have Marea up the road on Central Park South. And the way we came together is, the Langham Hotel Group, and prior to the Langham Hotel Group, wanted a premier operator, a product that would match the luxury that they were looking for. And frankly, what I think was very impressive by the Langham and their colleagues is they wanted to have a restaurant group that could excel at what they're good at and have them excel at what they're good at. And the rest became a symbiosis around how to make the client, because as you guys know, when a client walks in, they don't care what's the hotel, what's the restaurant, who's doing what. They just want to have a great experience.
Right, absolutely.
And they don't want to hear about what you can do, what you can't do. And so, Richard and I joined forces with that mentality on how to make the client have a good time and how can they have a better time.
So many times, I've rarely ever seen it go right. The relationship between a restaurateur and a high-end hotel typically because of all the challenges that you face, typically egos get involved and a lot of challenges get involved. And I'd say almost 95% of the ones I've heard about haven't worked. So what's the secret? Is it just that everybody checks their ego at the door? Is everybody, like you say, has the customer's best interest? And everybody says they have the customer's best interest, but how do you actually do it every single day when these complications come up?
I would say it's trust. It begins with trust. And, when Ahmass and I first met each other, we liked each other. We got along.
That's good.
The personalities came together and we had conversations rather than discussions. And it's taken us through to today. In the last 15 months, there were some hard days. And I could sum it all up by saying Ahmass and I worked extremely hard together so we could stay together. And here we are at the back side of the pandemic, and we're sitting next to each other. The restaurant is back open. He's got a beautiful venue up on the 11th floor terrace called the Sky Terrace. We're trying that out for the summer.
I will say we tried to do a show from out there, but it got so quick here in New York City that we decided we better stick to the restaurant inside so we don't sweat to death. That won't look pretty.
But I think relationships have to be managed. You've got to want to try. You've got to want to make it work. And Ahmass and I in the last year and a half have had many hard conversations. But it was always at the end of the day, we're going to figure it out. And fortunately, we were able to do that.
You know what? More important than liking each other, you have to trust each other. And I love the word that you use, trust, because there's people that I don't typically, and I know you guys like each other, but there's typical that maybe I don't like, but I trust them. If I trust them, you can almost do anything.
Absolutely.
You can climb any wall because you have their back. It's like if you're a fireman, everybody in the firehouse, they may not get along, but when there's a fire, everybody's got everybody's back. And that's what, when you're doing it, again, at this level, it's because when you put a bill in front of someone for the restaurant or the hotel, it's not cheap, and so they expect that you're walking that tightrope at the highest level, and that performance is every single day, every single table, every single hotel room.
That's right.
And I think under the umbrella of trust is very open channels of communication. We talk all the time, we email all the time, and we both try to put ourselves in each other's position. What is the issue you're trying to manage, and what is the issue he's trying to manage? You need to understand we are separate organizations. We're separately managed. We are not part of the hotel group doing a hotel restaurant venue. I have my own company. He has his own leadership and his own company. But we break through that by a lot of communication and trying to, as we mentioned earlier, think of the client and then reverse engineer, so that the experience comes together. Now, of course, our people have to buy into it too, and so it starts with the two of us pushing it downstream. So.
Yeah, and you know what? If someone has a bad meal or bad experience at the restaurant, they're thinking the Langham.
Right.
As much as your restaurant, it's a Michelin star restaurant, it's identified, it has its own character, but they're still relating it back to the Langham.
Yeah. I was sorry. I got some crazy hair going on over here today, and with this reverse, I can't fix this. But yeah, you guys are absolutely right, Anthony, because it comes down to the name on the hotel, and I don't think the customers particularly understand that there's a different restaurant group a lot of times running these things. So that communication that you have open with each other is so critical, important. So what kind of system do you have in place to make sure that you can stay good friends and you work so well? When a problem comes up, how do you discuss it? How do you approach it? How do you make sure it's all smoothed out so you can move on with your lives?
Well, whenever we have discussions or get together to review issues, it's between the two of us, one-on-one. There's no middlemen.
Awesome.
And we get up and we leave the table and we've resolved it or we haven't resolved it, but we've agreed that we're going to continue to talk. We shake hands and go about our business. It's not a them and a us situation. This is our problem. This is our issue to resolve. How are we going to fix it, and how are we going to fix it together?
Because at the end of the day, you can't run this hotel without a top-notch
Absolutely.
restaurant, because then you're just kind of an empty space with a top-notch hotel, and it's going to be a problem.
Well, the interesting thing is that certainly the staff on the hotel side and Ahmass's staff on the restaurant side, they get the fact that
Right.
we get each other and we speak with one voice. So they buy into it and they support it, and we work together to make everybody benefit.
So, Ahmass, you've been here since this building is basically open, correct? About
That's
10
right.
years?
That's right.
So you've been through different iterations of the hotel. How is a restaurant, and restaurants we all know are legendary for going out of business within 5 years, 97% of hotel restaurants go out of business. How do you maintain this level in this city, even during the pandemic?
That's a good question.
And you're still open. Are you not made from this earth?
He's had some rough days.
Yes.
And
You look awfully relaxed.
this has been a very difficult time, and as you know, we had to resize and downsize significantly when, like everyone else, we were ordered to just shut down,
Right.
and there was no plan, just shut down. Not next week you get to do this and that. It's very important that, I'm an entrepreneur, and, I spend a lot of time knowing our people, picking our leadership. It was very important to keep the core and the heartbeat of the company, and then be able to reflate and add others back onto the wagon once we got to a better spot. So we by the way, quickly moved as fast as we could in survival mode, having conversations with Richard, my partner here, about our situation and how can we work together to get to a better spot. So it was not just sitting there and frozen, but the tough decisions sadly had to be made. I am human, but we had to do inhuman things.
Right.
And there was no other way around it. But I think what we did is we still believed in New York. We believed that the client would come back. And we believed that if we worked together even more than we did before, then we would have a very good shot at starting to rebuild and add new levels of excellence. The second thing is we kept our eyes and ears very open to what the client wants, and because the client was changing. They wanted safety.
Restaurant in the Catskills.
Well, that's part of the motivation for the Sky Terrace, which we'll talk about. But the client wanted safety. Safety became the new cool. The client wanted to feel comfortable. The menu had to be more comfortable versus precise and finicky. People wanted to trust again in a different way. So we had to read all of that, and at the same time, not just say we're open again. It's like coming back to the Titanic or something. We are a renaissance. We're iFury 2.0. This is Langham 2.0. So we spent a lot of time on that. And what I would also tell you that he mentioned is, besides getting each other and how does it really work, because things go awry in 5 years, as you say, is our teams are on each other's teams. Our teams participate with the hotel team on what their priorities are. If there's a key client coming in, if there's a basketball team staying here, we know about it. And we're ready to anticipate that and work with them on it. It's important for them, it's important for us. They have entrusted us with a very big piece of what is important for this hotel, and that is the food and beverage program, or the lion's share of it. And so, we live together, and we need to rely on each other. And you're right, if it starts to get acrimonious, and of course there's issues, then it can go the wrong way. But I think how do we stay human?
Trust.
Is to remember you have a trusted partner. Remember that you need to take care of your people, not give up. I'm sorry. We have to be fighters. I'm a fighter. I refuse to give up and call it a day, and decided we need to give it our best shot possible.
You talk about your teams working together. I saw it firsthand behind the scenes getting ready as I'm sitting talking to everyone. Your team, I didn't know who worked for who, because it all seemed like you all worked together.
Right.
And you like, there was hugging and there was hellos, and everybody seemed, it wasn't like no one was faking it. Everyone was literally on the same team. And you don't always see that. What did you both think when you read in the papers about a year ago that New York's not coming back?
Right.
That New York is dead. I know my reaction. What was your reaction?
My reaction.
Please use all the colorful New York City language.
Well, my reaction was, no way. Of course it's coming back. The question is when. How long is the pandemic gonna affect us?
Right.
And then what will the recovery time be? And now they've committed to open Broadway in September. To me, that's a red line.
Mm-hmm.
So once we pass that, I think the drive-in tourism, leisure business is going to start to stream back. That's going to reactivate. It's going to turn the key to reignite the city culture.
Right.
And so I'm very hopeful that certainly by March, April of next year, things will be 80% back to the peak of what it was.
Look, New York, look, my reaction was it's ridiculous. I have, as many of you have, gone through 9/11, financial crises, other crises, and somehow and always New York comes through stronger than it was. I can tell you right now that 60% of our clients in our restaurant group are new during the pandemic.
Wow.
Younger people coming out, enjoying the outdoor dining, want to be part of it. We're seeing a new demographic profile enjoying dining. They're spending on themselves. They think they're worth it. So we're reacting to that. I think New York is going to have an incredible boost as everything comes together, as Richard mentioned. There's something about this place that's always magical. Everywhere I travel around the world, people dream of coming here. They're not complete till they come here. And then once they come here, they don't want to be a tourist. They want to come back to feel the vibe of the neighborhoods. It's an addictive place. Our job is to make sure we're ready for that vibe and buzz and get it going.
I've been coming to the city since 1990 for work. So I've been here a very, very long time working. And I've been driving in and out of the city the last few days. And I turned to my daughter and I said, I never, ever, ever get tired of this city. I love this city more and I feel more emotional about the city today than I did yesterday. And it's just something that it gets in your skin. And there's two types of people. People that truly are madly in love with the city and people who aren't. And if you're not in love with the city, that means you don't want to live here, but you want to come here.
Well, there's a lot of people.
I've met very few people that don't want to come here.
And speaking of people coming here, this morning, I'm happy to report, sad to have experienced, took me over 2.5 hours to go about the 52 miles or so from my house to here on Long Island. So city's coming back in a big, meaningful way right now. And every single time we come to the city to do these shows, gentlemen, we're seeing more and more people. And it really felt today, for the first time, we weren't getting back, but things really start to feel back to normal. And the offices are coming back too, right, guys?
Well, that's right.
Real quick, I took the express bus this morning for the first time in my life, and because I have to go to the airport after this, so I couldn't drive. So I took the express bus, and the express bus was busy with commuters.
Absolutely. And we see it in the foot traffic.
Mm-hmm.
On Fifth Avenue, the lobby looks out at the street, and the foot traffic is, I'd say it's 75% back.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the minute you see international travelers able to come here a lot more,
right,
and others, we're ahead of the game with the vaccination. The more that you see that happening, I think we're going to get a boost from it. People have left the city. We all hear that. They've gone to the Hamptons, Miami, elsewhere. But I will tell you something. They might be enjoying the Hamptons because it's the seasonal period, or, you think it's cool to be in the suburbs having a martini while your neighbor is mowing the lawn. You're both mowing the lawn and discovering lawns. Well, guess what? There's nothing going on in New York right now. Once fashion is back, art is back, Carnegie Hall is back, Lincoln Center is back, sports is back, and the new vibe that we have is back, including outdoor dining and terraces and so forth. I think people are going to say, well, what am I doing out here? The real game is over there. And I think the younger demographic has already realized that.
Right.
And they're coming in streams. Enjoying the city.
Yeah.
So I think you're going to see that yin-yang play out, and I think it's going to be electric, and we want to ride it all the way. We want to ride it.
Hyper-competitive city with hyper-competitive people. Hyper-competitive people cannot stay in their underwear for too long. They need to get back on the field. They just can't. They can't keep their shorts on in their suit and fake it. They're hyper-competitive. They're losing their minds. As I say, I'm eating my elbow at home. I got to get out on the road.
Yeah. And I think, by this time next year, the city will be bigger and better than it was pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
Because people are going to be so thrilled, so excited to have the culture back, the activity, everything that's going on. financial confidence again. I think the city is going to boom beyond where it was pre-pandemic.
People in New York are smiling when they're
Yeah.
walking to work. I was on Fifth Avenue this morning, and there was people. I walked all the way from 77th Street, and I walked almost all the way down, and everybody was smiling. New Yorkers don't smile in the morning. New Yorkers smile after 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, but they don't smile at 7 a.m. Matter of fact, if you have a heart attack on the sidewalk, they typically just walk over your body.
Right.
But this morning, I was like, wow, this is a weird vibe. It feels like a Sunday. Because a Sunday in New York, everybody's smiling, but not during the week at 7, 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. And there's a vibe. And I think, one of the things I keep going back to is, we have to just be grateful. We have to be grateful. We have to be grateful that when we thought if you touch something, you can die. If we thought if I was 10 feet away from you and you gave it COVID to me, we're all going to die.
Right.
So there was that moment where we didn't know what was going to happen, how many people we were going to lose, how many cities will never open up again. So there was a panic moment for the entire world. And I think we're already forgetting that we're like, okay, we got the vaccine, we're good. Okay, we got the vaccine, we're good. But what happens if we didn't have the vaccine? What happens if this was even worse? If this was more deadly? So every single day I'm waking up after getting the vaccine. Every day I'm able to be here with you guys, and I'm able to hug people and shake people's hands. It's like I'm grateful for every shaking hand and every hug and every person I talk to. And I don't know how you go back to like not being grateful or taking this for granted.
Exactly. We made the decision early on to keep the hotel open.
Right.
So we never closed.
That's amazing.
Throughout the pandemic. And at the end of the day, it came down to losing less. We figured out it would cost us less to keep the hotel open than it would to close it and have to still maintain the fixed staffing that, the city requires with respect to engineering, fire life safety.
Right.
So we stayed open. We downsized at our lowest point. We had, including the senior people, 17 people working in the hotel.
How many normally are working here to get people?
170.
Wow.
And as of yesterday, I asked my director of HR, we have 73 people. Mm-hmm. Now, what I can tell you is those, 45 extra people that we've brought on over the last 5 or 6 months are so thankful, are so excited that we've been able to bring them back, that they have their jobs back, that there's a paycheck on Friday, that, the culture in the hotel has gone from strength to strength because now they understand what they lost and how it impacted their lives on many, many, many different levels.
Right.
So we are absolutely in a better place, both the city as a whole, operationally, we're more efficient, we're doing things better as a team, the communication is open, and I just think we can only go from strength to strength as we move forward.
So what was your favorite, and either one of you can take this first, what was your favorite guest moment during the pandemic? Because the people that were eating at your restaurants are hardcore New Yorkers who didn't go upstate. And the people staying at your hotel are hardcore workers, whatever reason they had to be here, and they stayed in New York. So give me your favorite guest memory of where someone either said thank you or just had an experience that was really important to them because you were open, because really, you really couldn't get a good meal for a long time.
Yeah. Well, look, we, first of all, both of us never left the city during this whole period. So we experienced exactly what you were talking about, which is how can this place seem like Thanksgiving Day for 2-3 weeks straight? It was really, there was no one here.
Just bizarre.
There was bizarre. It was like, there was it's an alien film where everyone had to leave.
I kept expecting to see Will Smith walking down.
Yeah, it was like
an
an alien film.
We were getting close to that.
And we also opened as soon as we can at Osteria Marini Maria. Then we worked with Richard on Ifiori down here. But I think the moment really is, hospitality is about nurturing, it's about welcoming, it's about making someone feel special about being in your domain and exceeding their expectations. And to see people, appreciate what you do, rather than I need this, get me that, etc. I think the moment for us was just a sense of appreciation, seeing real empathy for our staff, taking time to say hello to our service team, that extra moment of connectivity. I think that made us really feel good about that, because let me tell you something, our staff was also scared. They were also being tested and had to make sure, it's not like they were not part of this pandemic. And so they had to be the ones who made a guest who walks through the door feel like they're in a safe parlor, feel like they're going to be taken care of and listened to. So the moment for us is when we saw that in reverse. Thank you. It's don't worry how long the menu is. We know it's shorter. You don't have the team yet. In it with us to win it, rather than it's not the same as it always was. There was this sense of understanding and appreciation. That was a huge moment for me, because I thought we could build from that and we could grow from that, because we frankly also had some challenges with hiring. Some people left the city.
Right.
Some people went on to other jobs. This has been going on for a long time, guys. Right. This is not a 2-week thing. And so, not everyone was ready to come back. Not everyone was available. So this was a working process. And the big moment for me was seeing the client understand it rather than complain about it.
Yeah, that's going to pass real soon, because we are New Yorkers, and one of the things we love to do is complain about stuff. But Ahmass, while you have that goodwill,
you guys on Long Island.
yeah, I know. All right. So Ahmass, one of the things that you mentioned is that you're really getting a lot of new, younger people in, sampling and stuff like that, right? How do they behave differently in terms of their customer expectations of you and a restaurant of such high quality? And how are you using that opportunity to reinvent yourself and start over to appeal towards the more traditional group and a younger group, while still making everybody equally happy coming back?
No, that's a great question. Thanks for asking it. Look, first of all, we were already quite focused on marketing and social media, but we boosted our whole social media strategy tenfold. This was going to be the way we were going to continue to project the brands, project the experience, invite people back, and so forth. If you look in the restaurant, as you said, it's a nice setting. You have flowers behind you. Ifiore means amongst the flower. Let's express ourselves with the beautiful flower design you see. Maria, we took a scaffold and a bus lane and turned the scaffold into a beautiful floral walkthrough. Take something that was impossible to deal with and turn it into something pleasant. So what happened was we got people to appreciate the effort, and social media was extremely important for us. We boosted our followers.
So when you say social media, for people that don't have your experience, what does that mean? Who did you hire? How do you do it? What are the X's and the O's of that? Because you hear it, but people get so overwhelmed by it, they don't know how to execute if they're opening a restaurant.
Yes. Well, first of all, it is important to hire someone a lot younger than me. Okay, so the person that we hired is in their 20s, and very active in the space, understands the engagements, knows what a photograph should look like, knows how to use.
So it's in-house. So you have in-house.
Yes, we brought someone in-house. Some of our team was also participates in it. So if we have great people in the restaurants that do have an eye for this element of marketing, we let them also take photos and feed into our social media stream. So it's from the team, but we also hired someone specifically to oversee this and keep it very active, because it needs to be refreshed the whole time. So it's Instagram mostly, but it's really about posting stories, having regular posts, having clients post for your brand because they like what you're doing, and it's a constant feedback mechanism and conversation that's happening. Now, younger people, to your question, really relate to that. That's their mode of engagement versus picking up a review or a newspaper or something. Of course, there's online reviews as well and so forth, but that's what we did. And what we found also is the younger profile demographic is really wanting to spend on themselves more than they did before. So how does someone come to a high-end restaurant like iFiore or Murray or so forth? Well, it's kind of interesting what's happening out there right now, which is, it's like the I always call it the sweater story, where you keep buying a sweater and you keep having holes and holes and holes, and you can buy 3-4 of them. You finally get a cashmere sweater, and that lasts a while. So they are spending more on quality and what they want to enjoy. They'd rather go once to iFiore,
Right.
than and then the rest of the meals deliver at home. But they're making that decision to go up market. I didn't see it coming, but I'm glad it's happening because it's widening our client base at the same time.
So I got one quick question here about the younger people on Instagram and stuff like that. Are people taking pictures of food as much as they did before the pandemic? I haven't figured that out yet.
All the time. And frankly, way before the pandemic, dining with smartphones changed everything. Changed everything. You get a newspaper review, fine, but I'm being reviewed every minute at the table. We don't have 6-7 people sitting at a table. We have 6,000 people at the table because they're projecting everything they're eating instantly. And we've even had a case once where someone thought their seat was too tight on Twitter, and we instantly went and gave them a new chair live. So this is what's really happening today.
And I think if you're an entrepreneur and you're a person that really likes, doing things at a high level, you welcome transparency in our business. I remember the day that TripAdvisor came into the hotel business, and I remember calling everyone in my office at the Lucerne Hotel on 79th in Amsterdam, and I said, congratulations. I was like, we don't need to put comment cards in the rooms anymore. And they're like, why? I said, because it's all online, and now no one can throw bad comment cards in the comments anymore. So the person, whether it be in Asia or Russia, wherever, they're going to be able to know if we're good or bad. Most general managers I spoke to were horrified that this was going to happen. I literally remember that moment like it was yesterday. I was so excited because I'm an instant gratification guy, right? I don't like waiting for anything. I don't wait on lines. I want everything. I want to know. So my guest is going to tell me instantly if I'm good or I'm bad. So if I'm bad, I just got to be better tomorrow. So to me, it was the greatest thing in the world. And I think it's the greatest thing for our business, and I think it's a great thing for restaurants.
There's so many.
You know immediately.
Yeah, there's so many feedback mechanisms. There's, certainly, all the portals that you're talking about, Yelp and so forth. We have 7 rooms as our booking agent. We get 7 rooms every day with the next morning with everyone's commentary and so forth. But, it is really about also observing what the client wants. I mean, we're about the client. The awards, we hope, come. But the purpose is not the awards, especially at this point in time. I was talking to Richard the other day about a guest that they have, in the hotel. They have a very prominent basketball team, Well, he's not going to have foie gras when they're on check-in, okay? He's not going to ask for, a very complex soup. They have to greet these guys in a different way. They want to eat in a different way. So we got to, bend with what he needs or what we need. And so I like the idea of being challenged. I like the transparency, as you say. I like being pushed so that we know what to give them.
Yeah, so let me
make it a secret.
Yeah, so Anthony, I think one way that they were challenged is trying to find new ways to engage people during this pandemic, and I think that is probably where you guys came up with the idea for the Sky Terrace. We actually took out several guest rooms that had terraces, which are probably very, very lucrative rentals for you guys every single day, but turning it into an outdoor bar restaurant. I love that idea. Richard, how did this, where did this notion come from to do this thing? It's really cool up there.
Before you answer that, Richard, just so the audience knows, taking out hotel rooms is malpractice. Okay? So you take out a hotel room, everyone's questioning you, and you better have your head examined. So you better be so triple down on your theory, because it literally is malpractice to take out a hotel room. So I know, because of the relationship and because you guys know each other so well, it was done and it was a good decision. But that's not a light decision.
That's right. And again, I think the conversation between Ahmass and I started was once we had sort of overcome all the challenges and we're back operational, and how can we draw people back into the hotel? How can we draw people back into the restaurant? And it all revolved around outside dining, and street outside dining isn't ideal. A lot of these things are built in little wooden things on the side, actually in the streets, and they're not always safe. They're not always comfortable. And Ahmass suggested, we've got this beautiful terrace up on the 11th floor. It overlooks Fifth Avenue. Why don't we consider doing something up there? And it'll be a wonderful draw for the hotel, for the restaurant, and, watch the sunset over the Empire State Building. And, the reality for the hotel is that, we're still operating under 50% occupancy. So I'm not, it sounds absurd, but, I'm not losing anything really by committing those 3 rooms for a period of time for the summer. And it's been very successful. It draws people in.
How long has it been open?
Since mid-May.
Yeah.
Oh, since mid-May.
Yeah.
So just a month.
So you have a little bit of a track record. Is it as good? Is it doing as well as you thought, or better?
I think it's doing what it's supposed to do, but it's going to climb from here because it's still in the early period of, of release. But look, the main thing I want to say about that, to start off, is what you mentioned at the very beginning of this discussion, which is when I approached Richard, he didn't say buzz off.
Right.
These are my hotel rooms, and don't you have your own problems and so forth. We were discussing what's happening with the clients. Every one of our other high-end restaurants had an outdoor space of some sort. Clients really react well if they know that option is available, whether they want to sit in it or not.
Right.
They just like knowing it's there.
It's like a swimming pool at a hotel.
Or gym. You have it there. You tell all your friends. You send, but you don't check in and go work out. Exactly. And so I think we said, how can we mutually benefit from this? It becomes a great amenity for someone staying at the hotel. It becomes a great option, an alternative for people sitting in our restaurant. Some clients can go upstairs and have a drink, then come back downstairs and have dinner inside. Yep. It just creates the malleability. And right now the client is driving, as they should. The client is driving. And so we wanted to be competitive. There was a comparative advantage in a beautiful terrace. And so we created the Sky Terrace, and we are making it a different experience. And that is evolving as we speak. So the menu is more approachable, more shareable items, more interesting cocktails, enjoy the space, spend some time, different soundtrack. So we're excited. It's almost like a different restaurant.
It really is. And when you say more casual foods, you got burgers, club sandwiches, chicken paillard, a pasta bolognese, and other sorts of stuff. Ooh, charcuterie plate. I love all of that. I got to ask you though.
Sure.
And they're in the, guests are in the driver's seat like that. They're having a great time, but you have to figure out how to get all that food up there and create some sort of flow. What are the logistics like? Creating a space for food and beverage that wasn't created for food and beverage. Thank you, Anthony. Get my operator hat on.
Well done, guys. Well done. You guys are ahead of the game. Well, I think you answered part of that question by very cleverly talking about the menu.
Right.
So we had to say we are 9 floors below. That's where the kitchen is. We didn't build a kitchen in upstairs, but we used those rooms cleverly. One room, first of all, is reception and entrance and greeting and so forth, and the other 2 rooms have some support for the food and beverage program, but not a operating plant or kitchen. And so we had to reverse back in thought and say, what would carry up there? The charcuterie plate does, burrata does, we can do a burger, it stays. So we tested a few dishes and to see how does it hold. And because the client is not going to say, they forgive us so much, but they're not going to say, I understand it's 9 floors below.
Well, so you're also at a luxury hotel. You have a certain set of expectations you have to bring with you elsewhere.
Yeah, I always say when I'm in a hotel that's 3 or 4 stars, I'll give you a little break. When I'm in a 5-star hotel, I give 0 breaks. I do. I'm that guy. I give 0 breaks.
Yeah. So we know a few like you. You're not alone. But look, it's back to transparency and standards. And by the way, we listen. This dish didn't work, whatever. So what we're doing right now, as we speak, is we're evolving the menu. to have more shareable items. We're noticing people want to linger or stay for a little bit of time, maybe not have a full dinner. So we're going to expand the menu to have, more shareable items.
Right.
People just like to dive in and pick at the plate and share, which is kind of what's happening with food and beverage.
Drink, right?
And drink, and they want to drink a bit more, they want to stay a little bit more, or come and go quickly. And so we are seeing what makes it, what can we prepare. Obviously, on the front end, in terms of appetizer and snack, we lean more to the cold dishes, subtly, but maybe not so subtly. And then we'd see what could work on the main menu side, but still have a standard that fits. The menu is not that long either, as you would have noticed.
Right.
So as hard as it, I'm sorry.
If I can just
Please.
bring up sort of something we haven't spoken about yet, but everything that Ahmass is referring to amounts to reinvestment into his business, reinvestment into his commitment, into his brands. And the hotel has had to do that as well. When we made the decision to stay open, we had to immediately ensure we were fully, if not more, compliant with COVID protocols that the city and the state was imposing on us. So we went out and we bought the cameras, so that as soon as somebody walked in the lobby, if they had a temperature, we would know. We implemented all those protocols immediately. The handheld temperature takers, all the sanitation issues. Every guest room had a little packet in it with masks and hand lotion and all that stuff. And, that was all reinvesting in being able to move forward and continue. And I think, I think back on where we were 15 months ago and where we are today. And, Ahmass has really done an amazing job, and he has tremendously reinvested into his survival. And he deserves, what he reaping the benefits today, which he is.
Richard, and you've made it possible, But like, I've seen the hotel invest. We're talking about the Sky Terrace. Of course, we need furniture that can be rained on. Of course, we need a sound system that could work. Of course, we need to figure out how to get the ice in there. Nothing comes easy, and and the client just wants to walk in and just feel great.
And so canopies aren't cheap.
Canopies aren't cheap. All the setup, some plants that work, and so forth, and also. The hotel team, when the clients walk in, being greeted. Where's the Sky Terrace? Not saying, I don't know, that's their thing. Yes, welcome. Back to that teamwork thing, so that people know where to go and how to get up there. And so,
one experience.
I think this one experience theme has been with us for 10 years, and we hope it really works. But when you ask me also, what are you doing with younger people and so forth, we're evolving. We're now in rosé season. We're going to launch this Wednesday, Rosé Wednesdays, starting at 4 o'clock, 4:30. First glass is free.
Ooh.
How does that work? To encourage a little bit of goodwill back,
right? And
come and enjoy the terrace. That's something we would not do necessarily downstairs, but for a terrace, you would. But Richard's aware of what we're trying to do. He knows we're trying to evolve. We talk about it, and he's been a huge supporter. No surprises.
Yeah. Now we got a couple of questions coming from the audience. Richard, you were mentioning this before. That first question is, will they revert the 3 rooms back into the future? You can, if you wanted to.
During winter.
Yes,
to come November.
The plan, yes. Once it's no longer feasible to be outside, yes, we will revert it back, and then we'll reevaluate the situation next spring.
Well, if you want one of those propane lamps, I got a guy. So let me know. Michael is asking, if people are lingering, how does that affect compensation of the restaurant staff because of less table, quote unquote, turnover, or is that even really an issue for you guys? I mean, you would hope to be an issue that a lot of people are hanging out.
Yeah, working.
Well, first of all, it's very important to have people come, enjoy it, talk about it. It builds like a snowball,
right?
And so, we want people to enjoy it, tell their friends, and so forth. The Sky Terrace and the iFury restaurant downstairs are all joined together. It's one team. We share together, so no one is disadvantaged by working in one place or the other. But we're in the build mode right now. We're building. We're creating a following. We're creating a client base, and we want people to enjoy it, not ask them to leave. We want them to feel good about things right now.
So I want to ask a little a question off topic. We've talked about business, we've talked about pandemic, we've talked about growing, we've talked about the terrace, we've talked about you guys coming together. But what do you love, Richard? Either one can answer first. What do you love about your business? What gets you up in the morning? Why do you love this business? This is a tough business, and if you don't love it, it kills you.
Anthony, they want to be interviewed by us. That's what gets them.
It's all about the experience. It's all about creating memories for people. And, you know, they choose you, they choose your hotel, come and stay here for an anniversary, a birthday, a long weekend, whatever. And it's about combining a million different details together to create a memory for them.
When were you hooked? When were you, in the first day you were in this business, when were you hooked? When did you say, I'm addicted to this business?
45 years ago. I was still in college. I loved it. My first job. Well, the first time I worked in a hotel at the reception desk. I loved the engagement with the customer, you know, listening to them and say, oh, you know, do you have a room facing this way? You know, and resolving those little things and making them happy. And cost nothing. And that what makes you get up in the morning at the end of the day. And then you mature in the industry and you learn and you grow. And I had the opportunity to actually, you know, get into management and
you traveled all over the world, right? Where
I have.
Work?
So I was an expatriate for 27 years.
Wow.
I spent 10 years in China, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Japan, Australia, New Zealand, and Fiji. So I've been all over. And I have to tell you, the last 15 months in New York, I've never experienced anything like it. I mean, you know, the degree of difficulty that we've all just lived through is number one on the charts. It has to be. No matter how many downturns of the economy we've had, this has by far been the most challenging. And I'm still here, and I'm still smiling, and I want to be here tomorrow.
And well armed with great information. Being overseas for decades, you probably learned a lot about cultural differences and stuff, and about how different people approach luxury in different ways to be able to create more unique, individualized experiences for when they come here to New York and stay with you.
That's correct. And you know, I saw the best of the best all over Asia, and you know, I had made a personal decision that it was time for me to come back home, and I fortunately was able to join Langham in 2013, and I ran the hotel in Boston. And just prior to me leaving, you know, I closed it down because it's been closed for 2 years, being renovated.
Yeah, get ready to reopen now.
That's right, on June 30th, and very exciting. It's going to be an amazing hotel.
We have to go to Boston.
Oh,
Yeah.
We definitely have to go to Boston. We need to do a show up there, and we need to, hey,
I think we know
Boston Encore
somebody.
people, we got to do a show by you as well.
We're very excited about the opening of Boston, the Langham Boston, and coming to here to New York. You know, when I first got here in August of 2015, the perception of our location was not the greatest, and you look at it today, the city we're sort of midtown, everything has grown towards us from the north and the south, and it's a totally different market situation today, and we're far more competitive than we were 5 years ago because the location has grown. And of course, we've had 5 more years of the brand being in the market. We're well recognized now. We have a following, and I just see the future as being very bright.
So, Richard, I can understand what you love about this business, because even though you're in the hotel business, we're in the restaurant bar business as well, but we're protected a little bit because we have a lot of teams, we have a lot of staff, and I just think the hotel business for me, is really my passion. You, my friend, like I have why don't you own hotels? Like what you do is so hard, and the margins are so thin, and the difference between staying open and closing could be a bad weekend.
Yeah, you're
how do you are you crazy?
You're not helping me. You're not helping me. I'm gonna have to leave. This is
Passion.
much of the questions I ask myself at night before going to bed. Look, I'll tell you something. It is a bit strange, but it's very real. I got into this business after finance 15 years ago. I always loved traveling. Like Richard, I lived in Asia for 10 years, lived in Europe. So we're both very internationally skewed, ran businesses all over the world. And, I wanted to go into hospitality. And at the beginning, it was early on very romantic, and I go, why didn't I do this sooner? And then the toilets flood, and then the electrical system go, and then people have bad hair days every other minute, and it just, you see the heaviness of it. Somehow when you see a grandmother who hasn't seen her granddaughter sitting in a corner and they first saw each other, or someone got engaged, or someone closed a deal they never thought they would, and you see the joy of it. I'm in it because of what he said. We are in the business of creating memories. It's on our website. We are crafting memories, if you look at it. And those moments, it doesn't make much sense, but really keep you going. I think even for you guys, some of the memories you have with family, friends, relatives are in restaurants. Yeah. They're eating a meal together.
We just had a graduation party for our twins that graduate college. At Julio's in Coney Island, our family restaurant we've been going to for years, and I have a picture of the whole family being in one of the rooms, and I keep looking at it. I looked at it this morning when I got up, and I was like, wow! Like after a year, can't see Grandpa, we can't see our cousins, and we're all in the same room in our place. Like in Julio's is our it's our home stadium.
But it doesn't mean I'm not crazy. I'm gonna confess that. But I think when people sometimes tell me what is the secret in this business, first of all, we're only as good as our last performance, as you know. But I say being passionate and paranoid at the same time.
Yeah,
the whole time you have to be paranoid. What's going wrong? We're going down. It's not going to work for us. They hate this. They don't like this. What did he think? What did they say? It's a complete maniacal attitude towards this thing.
Yeah, Andy Gross, who used to run Intel, wrote a book, and I was a young manager, and everybody thought I was crazy. Everybody looked at me and was like, okay, the crazy guy. You work for the crazy guy. I think, running the Plaza at the time. I was director of operations, front office operations, and I read this book, and it changed my life. And there was a chapter of being paranoid is good. Being paranoid in life, like you think your neighbor's after you or something, no, you're probably a little crazy, you gotta go see somebody. But being paranoid in business, like in this business, you guys work at the high level. There's a lot of people working at a high level in New York City. If you're not paying attention and paranoid about somebody else trying to take your clientele, you're not gonna be around for a long time. So I love the fact that you use the word paranoid, because a lot of people don't use it because they think it's a bad word. I am as paranoid as a human being could be when it comes to business. I always want to outwork everyone else because I know somebody else, like Mike Tyson said, we said, why are you running at 4 o'clock in the morning? Because the guy I'm fighting is running at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yep. And, at the end of the day, there's 10,000 hotels in New York City. How do you differentiate yourself? You have to be paranoid. You have to care. You have to fight to be recognized and to earn the right, to be successful.
And everything matters.
And that's right. That's right.
So, Ahmass, let me ask you this question then. You said you operated businesses around the world, so they were outside hospitality, outside food and beverage. Is that correct? Number one, and yeah.
It is partly correct.
Okay.
Outside of hospitality and hospitality. So, when I was top Wall Street executive, it was in those locations, Asia, lived in Tokyo, covered Asia, Europe, etc., as I mentioned. But we have a setup in Dubai. We have Maria in Dubai. We have a place in Istanbul. So there is an international skew to my F&B life as well.
The reason why I asked that is because you work at such a high level. It's interesting that you came into this after having another career. How did you make sure that you were able to be prepared to work at such a luxury level where the competition is incredibly fierce?
Right. Well, first of all, on the luxury level, I was fortunate to be a client all my life.
Right.
So I had the reverse view, very, very much on what makes it and so forth. Chefs will worry on every single dish and every single this and get all upset about it. But a client, if they notice 2 things or 3 things in a dinner, you're winning. Meaning, you're eating and you go, hey, this is pretty good. Or that glass of wine, that's it. That's all you're going to get out of a client, you know. So you need to go back and realize having a cold poached salmon versus a very complicated hot appetizer may not be the most important thing for a Goldman Sachs dinner.
Right.
Okay. And so I think being a client has helped me work with the team to give them a sense for what is the view from that side. And when I say we're a client firm, everything we do is for the client. Then we go backwards to see if it can fit, other than product push. To me, it's demand pull. You know, product push is we create something, they must love us. Of course, we're going to be creative, but it can't be you must love us. It is what is it that they want to eat and what's happening with them. So that helped me a lot as a client in business. And then, internationally, I, like you and many people, love trying new places, trying new techniques. You have to be interested in it. You know, you have to be something that you personally enjoy, like to read about and know about, and curious about. And so it doesn't mean, you're going to be naturally good at it. But the one thing I will tell you is that I thought might happen, but it's very true. You never give up discipline, financial thinking, planning, forecasting. This is a business where you can die with 1,000 cuts. If you get the real estate piece wrong, you get your purchasing wrong, your inventory is wrong, and your labor model is wrong, it doesn't matter if everyone loves you. They don't love you for 2 days.
Right.
You'll be out.
Yeah.
So some of what I learned in the past is actually very transportable to this new environment in food and beverage.
Because the one mistake I see everybody make, at least when I'm watching those TV shows where they're trying to fix restaurants or bars and those people are like 20 seconds away from being out of business, kind of like what Anthony did all those years in Hotel Impossible, the hotel business. People buy these things because they like them. They didn't work in them the whole career, and then they don't really educate themselves on how to run it successfully. You sound like you're much further ahead.
We say on the show almost on a daily, weekly basis is it comes down to how you bought the hotel, how you bought the restaurant. We're doing a deal right now, and there's things that are coming up, whether it be the roof, or there's railing issues,
of course.
But we're buying it right. So buying it right, those things are all built in, and we're fine. If you were buying it wrong, and now you're like over the budget, maybe $1 million over the budget, you're in trouble. But if you buy it right, those things come up. You can solve those problems.
The business piece, as you're saying, is critical.
It's everything. I always say you can't have celebrations for the staff. You can't give the staff raises. You can't hug and kiss the staff every day and wow the staff every day if the owner's pissed off. If the owner's not happy and they're not getting, if they're not breaking even and they don't think the thing's going forward, no one's happy. It's like, if
you have to stay very close. I run this business from 7 in the morning to 9 at night. Okay, this is not a vanity play, checking in how it's going and who's in the restaurant, feeling good about it myself. It is all in. You need to know the details. You need to hire the people who have your culture. We got to create a sense of winning together, understanding that performance excellence is at every level. The greeting at the door can ruin a whole dinner.
Well, what's the goal?
If it's not done right.
All these years of being successful, doing it at the highest level, what is your goal? It can't be a financial goal. What is your goal to doing this? Because doing this for as long as I've done it and staying away as much as possible on the food and beverage side, I know how difficult it is. What is your goal?
That's a very good question. I think, first of all, something happens to you along the way in business and in life. I'm not a young man anymore, where first you really enjoy building a good company, if that makes sense to you, with good people, good culture. And then I really get buzzed when I see them doing things on their own without me or in a better way than I would have ever thought about it. And then we created a platform to allow that. That's where excellence starts to come about, when you see people connecting the wires and so forth. So one goal is certainly, can we create great brands? Can we create a great company? Can we be the preferred employer of choice? I'm not there yet, but we're getting there. COVID didn't help. We had to reset and re-strengthen. But that is one of the big goals. The other goal, because I'm a financial man, is to make sure that we are creating things that have value. Okay, that might have value, that people respect, and so having a restaurant that is failing and, every night we just can't pay people and we can't get it to the right spot is not a good feeling. So the goal is to have a company that is well positioned culturally, but also has a view on creating value. What does that mean? Saying to me, as you said, the owner has to be happy, what I would just say, we all have to be bottom line focused, is what I say.
Absolutely.
Saying we had a great day, hey, we had a great day, but we lost money is not a great day.
So we're coming to the part of our show where you've earned a shameless plug, as my friend Glenn would say. So how will people find your hotel? How will people find your restaurant? Or how will people find you?
And you can find me up at the third floor terrace for the rest of the summer.
You can find me at the JFK.
Well, I'm gonna let Richard conclude. I would first say, thank you for the shameless plug. With the Altamarea Group, we have restaurants like Maria on Central Park South. We have Osteria Morini in Soho. Definitely worth trying. Very different in price point, but very high in quality. And we are very proud to have I Fiori at the Langham Hotel. I Fiori means amongst the flowers. It is an ode to Riviera cuisine from France and Italy. It is great food, very well executed, but approachable. And it fits right with Langham's luxury elements as well. I think you'd love it. It's on 7th Street, I guess, and 5th Avenue. It is a flower or part of this oasis, because there's nothing as good as the Langham and I Fiori, and the blocks south, blocks north was a place to go to. And I think you'd really be surprised by the space you get and the customized service you get from the hotel and us. And we're on 37th and 5th, and you should come and try it. The Sky Terrace is fun. We're going to make it more cool. We're going to give you a free glass of rosé on Wednesdays, and we're going to try to make it somewhere you go to.
That Glenn's making his singing debut this Friday night.
That's right. I'll be doing a mix of standards and original compositions over here. So good luck with that.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, you guys.
How can we find you?
Well, again, we're launching a brand new package called Raise the Curtain. And it refers to the return of Broadway and the return of the city, with numerous packages available that are going to entice and encourage people to come back to the city and book with us.
Awesome.
And enjoy what New York is all about. So, go ahead.
No, free. Go.
I think, it's a wonderful opportunity to take advantage of New York coming back and trying to be a driving force in the success of that over the next 6 to 8 months. I really appreciate having the opportunity to spend the last hour with you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm so glad that we were able to do this in person. It's always so much more fun than doing it just on the internets and stuff like that. So, hey, look at that. We're together. How freaking awesome is this? Without masks, because we are vaccinated. Guys, I can't wait to get back to New York City. I got tickets for Hamilton at the beginning of October. So that package that you're talking about is absolutely perfect for me and my little
Well,
bride.
small head, or do you have a big head?
I'm close. But I don't know. I do have a big head, but I don't think we're talking about physical size over there. All right, everybody. I will be taking us out of this show. I got to go to this thing over here. Now, remember, a lot of y'all listen to our podcast here on the audio edition. And, of course, all of our shows are out there on Apple Podcasts. They're on iHeartRadio. They're on Stitcher. They're wherever you prefer to get your shows. And, of course, let's say our official goodbyes over here. And, Anthony, you know what? I'm excited because we did a great show today. Just a little show note, everybody. There will be no show tomorrow. I'm sorry that I have to call it off, but I'm going to be attending the funeral for Mr. Pat Ford, industry icon. The dad to one of my best friends, Bruce Ford of Lodging Econometrics. So I'll be doing that. We'll be back in studio on Thursday, live at noon. And look, this is a perfect opportunity because it makes me think about how I've got one life. So I'm going to blaze on. And Anthony?
Be kind to yourself.
All right, see you all Thursday.
And don't talk over.